Good morning, everybody. Dave Stevens here, day 4 or 5. I don't know. We've been here so long. I think it's Thursday morning, and we are at Radio Row, of course, right here in Tampa. Still chilly, still cold this morning, but I hear we're getting a break today in the weather. And so we're just going to continue to do what we do at a very empty and desolate Radio Row. We're like the only people here. It's crazy. But thanks for joining me, and we're kicking things out of the gate today with one of the coolest stories that I've heard of, and I'm so excited to bring in someone who I've just connected with recently, but her story is amazing. I'm just going to kind of go over it real quick. Thank you, Mindy Scheier, for joining me, and let me let our fans and people out there know a little bit about you. Like I said, you've been in the fashion industry for over 20 years, an innovator, designer. You've created a design school for kids, but the biggest thing, the most impactful thing is you've created something that, most people wouldn't think of as being in the fashion industry. You've created runwayofdreams.org, which is based on kind of your need for your own son Oliver, and I'm going to let you tell that story. But it's a great organization trying to pair people with clothing designers to find out if you're missing an arm or a leg, or you have an affliction of muscular dystrophy or something and the clothes don't fit. This is a person who has really orchestrated something that I just find personally amazing. So Mindy, thank you. If I left something out, continue to tell me about all these things. But first, why is it so personal for you?
First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm so honored and I'm just thrilled to meet you. So, I am, as you mentioned, a former fashion designer and mom of a child with muscular dystrophy. And I learned early on that he really was going to struggle with everyday tasks like buttoning his shirt, putting his pants over his leg braces. The very thing that I love to do every day, which is get dressed, was a daily horrible challenge for him. So when he became of school age, we decided that he would just wear sweatpants every day, which didn't seem so off the mark. But it was our path of making sure that he'd be able to go to the bathroom on his own, that he'd be able to navigate the nuances of what it requires to button and zipper and whatnot, which he could not do. So when he was 8 years old, he came home and said, Mom, I want to wear jeans. I don't understand why everybody else gets to wear jeans except for me. And Dave, it was a true kick in the stomach moment, not only as a deep member of the fashion industry, but also as a mother, that I needed my 8-year-old to remind me of how critically important clothing is to who you are as a person, how you show up to the world, your confidence, your self-esteem. And Oliver reminded me of that. And I looked at that little face and said, you bet you're wearing jeans to school tomorrow. And I ripped apart a pair of his jeans and put them back together with some creative Velcro and stitching. And it was the first time he had ever been able to dress himself independently and go into school with anything that was other than sweatpants. And what that experience did for me was open my eyes to the fact that if Oliver was struggling with this at 8 years old, how in the world did the 1 billion people on our planet manage clothing challenges in their life? So in 2013, I decided to take my background and have a small goal of changing the fashion industry to be inclusive of people with disabilities. And I started the Runway of Dreams Foundation.
And so 2014, fast forward to now, and to just look at what you're doing. And again, I every picture I found was just even better than the next. To see these kids on the runway just beaming with that pride, because it's tough enough, for my experience, to have people stare at you anyway. And it's like, with designers like Untuckit, I wear Untuckit shirts thanks to Chris Riccobino and Aaron Sanandreas. And I'm confident because I know, hey, they're going to look at this shirt and not notice that I don't have legs. I mean, I know that's not real, but you get that confidence that if you're looking at something different, people are going to respect you. And so what you're doing, and I don't know why I'm getting so emotional, but you giving those kids those opportunities. I didn't have that. And it's such an amazing thing what you're doing, not just for Oliver, but for all the other kids out there. So it just gives you hope, and because no one ever thinks about us, it's just like it's like it's so nice for someone like you to come along and create those things. I just wish I was younger and more fashionable to wear the things that you're doing. But you know, um, just tell us about that growth, and now you're in New York, on the runways.
Absolutely. And I'm so honored and privileged that this has brought emotion to you, because I think that that is what people need to understand and see. And I say this often to the audience or audiences that I speak to is I want you tomorrow morning to go into your closet when you go to get dressed and think about if there was nothing that you could independently dress yourself in, and or clothing that was appropriate for what you needed to wear that day, whether that was to present to a meeting or to go on a first date or to prom or anything. How critically important clothing is to your life. But one of the main reasons that I decided to develop modifications that could be implemented into mainstream clothing rather than design my own line was to help the industry understand that there is an enormous population out there that is not being considered by the industry, and that people with disabilities are people first. They are consumers, and they very much care about what they look like. I mean, it's almost mind-blowing to think that a human being wouldn't care about how they look or show up to the world, whether you care about fashion or not. Everybody has to be dressed every day. There's no option to that. So everybody should be able to have choice in what they wear or how they look. And that is something that I definitely had to first broach with the brands that I approached about the importance and the misnomers of who this population was. So in developing the modifications, in 2016, we partnered with Tommy Hilfiger and developed the first ever mainstream adaptive clothing line that is now Tommy Adaptive, and it's available for kids, adults, all the way up the sizing system. What I love about it is that it's just another in their portfolio. It is treated just as important as Tommy jeans or other divisions in the portfolio. And that's exactly how I want brands to think about adaptive. And now we also work with Zappos, we work with Kohl's, we work with Target, LVMH and Stride Right, and more brands are coming, very, very quickly. And what I have to always take a step back and think about is that is a tremendous amount of brands in a very short amount of time that are not only realizing that this is the right thing to do, but it's a business opportunity. And that's really what I like to hit home, that this isn't just poor people with disabilities. This is, you're missing out on a ton of money that is being left on the table to the tune of like $4 trillion a year of money that could be spent on clothing, accessories, footwear, etc. So that's really one of the prouder moments that I have, is seeing that the industry is not only listening, but they're doing something about it.
It's just amazing. And just want to let, if anybody's just joining us, I've got Mindy Scheier, who is a fashion icon designer who now is working with clothing designers to create clothes for every body, limb different folks, people with muscular dystrophy, any kind of atrophy or anything like that. And it really is awesome. So just we're just having a conversation about that. And Mindy, I'm going to ask it, the cynic in me, because I've been on both sides. I always, you kind of think in that Shark Tank mentality, but you said there's money, but how many of those people are sitting back going, no, it's just not a big enough market. You don't see Walmart doing it. You don't see all these. It's like, it's not for me. It's a niche, that it's a special niche. It's an individual, niche. And how do you get those, good old boys off of that mentality and change forward, because we've seen so much in our governments and our, racial relations and things like that. The disabled always they forget about us last. They say, oh, it's the 30-year anniversary of the job, whatever that,
ADA.
yeah. Bullshit. It's not like there's been no growth to help, and that's why what you're doing and what I'm doing with Ability Media and trying to teach and things like that, that's what we need. But the cynics out there that say it's not a big market, how do you win them over?
Well, I think that's a really important point, and definitely the greatest hurdle I had in the beginning was exactly what you just said, that the brands that I approach would say back to me that this is too small of a market. People with disabilities don't care how they look, and they don't have money to spend. So I then systematically debunked every single one of them, because I did not approach brands until I had hard and fast data. And that took a year's worth of research and focus groups and surveys and working with research companies, because I needed to then present to them to show them that they are so wrong, that it's actually white space that they are being short-sighted not to get involved in. And also, to your point, when you talk about minorities, nobody instinctually thinks about the population of people with disabilities. It's skin color, it's sexual orientation, etc. When the reality is that people with disabilities are the largest minority on the planet, that every single one of us will be a part of at some point in our life, whether that's just getting old. So why wouldn't we start thinking and designing and, even reaching out to other industries for something that ultimately we're all going to be a part of? And I think when I broke it down in those ways, that I was able to show the size of the market, I was able to show the spending power, I was able to show very clearly of the size of the population, that's pretty hard to say no to.
Well, I hope
it wasn't letting them say no anyway.
Well, so my question is, and you touched on Kohl's. I like to shop in Kohl's. Obviously, you get that Kohl's cash, but it isn't conducive for folks in wheelchairs. I hit my arms and scrape them, and I've talked to managers, and they're like, oh, yeah, but corporate doesn't care. It's all about getting as much in as they can so they can sell it all. So how are people supposed to find these clothes? Are there special sections, which either could be embarrassing, or is it sneaky because even the people that work there don't know where it is? Like, I'm wondering, is it connected to your website, or like how can parents start finding this, or should they contact you? Or like, what can we do to get these clothes onto these kids and people?
So the reality is that right now everything is online. And that's really how we effectively needed to start, because the reach of where it can go online versus having it in store to start was not even comparable. For example, the first line that we launched with Tommy, we sold product in every single state in the first week. They didn't have a single product in their portfolio that did as well as that from the get-go. So like many things in life, we have to start somewhere, and starting online was the fastest, most effective way to show the size of the market, and that there actually was a market for this. So do I think we will get to a place of having product in store? Absolutely. And that does require work. To your point, the stores will have to be redesigned. The accessibility of them has to be completely upgraded. And that's, in many cases is daunting to many retailers, but they won't have a choice. Yeah. And that is definitely where we're going. And statistically, they say that there could be a time that there will be more people on our planet with a disability than not. So there's no doubt in my mind that this will be something that will be a part of our future. But we have to take steps to get there, and we will. And just even having conversations like this and talking about when is the last time you saw somebody with a disability in the handicap dressing room? Probably never. You'll see, teenage girls, you'll see moms with kids, but you certainly won't see somebody with a disability.
No,
So you have to take a
they're
step back and say, well, of course, because they can't get there.
yeah. Or you'll find that one handicap locker room that you can get in turns into a storage bin for all of their extra clothes. Because I see that at Old Navy, I see that at all these places, and it's like, you know, for me, I only have to wear shorts. I'm lucky. Back in the day when I wore my artificial legs, I would wear pants and stuff like that. But for me, I can't find nice shorts in the winter because golf shorts aren't. It's not that kind of season. And yeah, you can do stuff online, but people in the fashion industry, you like to try it on. Have you ever bought something, you get it home, you try it on, it's not right, you can take it back. If you order it online, it's a hassle. So what you're trying to do to make this accessibility is good. And because of what my new endeavor with Ability Media at Quinnipiac, it's going to hopefully bring those worlds together, because what we're trying to do, our mission is to have these kids and people with disabilities, not just college students, be able to get jobs in TV, in print ads, as models, as actors. And only 3% of folks with handicaps have ever been used in the business for TV, television, movies. So all these actors that don't have disabilities play the actors. That's like trying to say I'm a white person playing a black role, or I'm a transgender person. So what you're doing is going to open up those print ads, those commercials. Like, I want to see those on there. So it's like, it's right on the top of their website. Click here, and here's mom and kids in wheelchairs and things, like all of the things that you see that Runway of Dreams is doing. So these things, what you're doing, is really going to hopefully change a lot of lives for those that want to be in this industry as models, as designers, things like that. And I just I don't know where you hope this ends up in a few years.
Well, Dave, we over the course of building Runway of Dreams, many different industries, primarily the entertainment industry, started reaching out to us and asking to be connected to people with disabilities for commercials or movies, or just anything that you see in the public eye. And when these requests kept coming in over and over again, it made me realize that if they're coming to a nonprofit that does not do this, there must be a hole in the market. So in 2019, I started a second company, a for-profit company by the name of Gamut Management, that we are a talent management company exclusively for people with disabilities, because we believe that everybody has a talent, whether that is being a part of a focus group, testing product, developing product, or being in commercials, movies, Broadway shows, you name it. And we have amassed over 600 clients, and we're gaining more every day. And it is just so exciting, and so to your point, that if we don't rebrand who people with disabilities are in the public eye, then we're not going to be able to make change really happen, because people need to visibly see. For example, why does a Colgate commercial, why does somebody have to be able-bodied to be brushing their teeth? Can they have one arm? Can they be in a wheelchair? Can they be blind? Of course they can. They have teeth.
And that's the point, because we see now society, and I'll call it, I'll say it, that there are many commercials now with mixed race couples.
Yes.
So they're trying, and so it's like, good, we're getting to that point, but now it seems like they're forcing it. So it's like, then it's our turn. Let's start seeing those kids. The only thing we see on TV is a Shriners commercial for those kids asking for donations. That's the only exposure that we ever get.
Nudes or other,
so
we're pigeonholed.
Yeah, and it's like,
and that's.
In my world, I've been, had to reinvent myself as a motivational speaker after, college football and TV and everything. And it's tough for me. I try to go out. I was at a sports camp with Sam Cooner 2 months ago, where I'm teaching a little 12-year-old boy with no legs how to play football. That's impactful. We put that out there on social media, you get 1,000 clicks. Somebody goes and kicks a soccer ball and hits a guy in the groin, 2.7 million views. Like,
right.
our priorities are so wrong. I'm working my butt off doing crazy things on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and society as a whole, they don't embrace that yet. If it's something from Justin Bieber, or so and so tweeted this and everybody attacks them, it's always about that negativity. And I know your struggle is the same way. It's like, well, yeah, that's nice and everything, but I don't want to see all those. I'll be uncomfortable watching people with disabilities on the runway, and it turns my stomach. And oh, it's it's like you get those people that aren't supportive of this, and I hope this big runway event. Tell us about what you've done, to break those barriers and get into Fashion Week and really being up there with all of the who's of the fan. First for you professionally, it's got to be a great you know achievement for you, but then what you're doing is even such a bigger thing. So talk about that.
So yes, from a professional perspective, any designer or anyone in the fashion industry to be able to be a part of New York Fashion Week is really you're playing with the big boys. So one of the pillars of Runway of Dreams is to really raise awareness and show and educate the importance of seeing people with disabilities. And the best way to do that is, if part of the fashion industry, is on runways. So we started doing large adaptive runway shows during Fashion Week, and actually now we just expanded it to Fashion Week plus another city every year, and we're going to be in Miami in March, where we will be doing a show at a drive-in movie theater. So we're super excited about that. And all of our models have all different types of disabilities, ethnicities, backgrounds, ages, because we like to show the spectrum and the diversity of disability, and really show that, again, I can't say it enough times, that people with disabilities are just people. And I'm really happy to say, Dave, that we really have never gotten the reaction of the stomach turning or negative. The pendulum has totally swung to the other side, that people are so wowed by the fact that they cannot believe that this hasn't been done before. And that's the beautiful part of what the acceptance that I see happening, and especially with younger generations, the millennials on down. They expect this of brands. They require it of who they shop or where they shop and who they consume. And that is only going to help add to really changing the conversation of who consumers are. So that's, something that I think is very hopeful of the next generations of designers and consumers that do really believe that companies have to have an element of social good and inclusion. I think that's also why inclusion and diversity is the buzzwords of 2020 and 2021, no question. But we really have to re-educate a bit about the fact that people with disabilities are included in that conversation, are the largest part of that conversation.
So what's next as far as for you? Do you still design? Do you still tinker with things? Do you work with these folks as far as figuring out, oh, I didn't know you need to have a little shorter leg on this or tighter? Like, what are you still doing behind the scenes?
So behind the scenes, we have a long way to go in the fashion industry specifically, in terms of really making this a mandate that every brand should have adaptive versions of their product. It is just a fact. And it should just be considered another division within the industry, no different than plus size or petite. I mean, the fact that it's easier to find clothing for your dog than it is for people with disabilities has to be changed. So there's certainly a lot of work to be done there, but I feel so positive and excited about it that we will get there, especially with the brands that I can cite that are really putting effort behind it. And then from the gamut perspective, it's just working so hard to not only give people with disabilities a voice in the public eye, but really rebranding who they are and what roles they can fill, and how they can help with developing products. So I think the marriage of these two companies, of a nonprofit and a for-profit, really helps to be a little bit of one-stop shopping for getting involved in the population of people with disabilities.
And I've had to change my wardrobe. Thank you, Disability Channel, for the new shirt, because recently, during COVID, a lot of good things happened in my life. One of those, I've lost 35 pounds. So I've gone from 2X's to XL. my pants, you should see, like, none of the pants I brought fit, so I had to wear a belt. But just knowing that there's going to be more things out there for me in the future, and now that I can go online and stuff, I'll definitely do that. And as far as Fashion Week, I guess there's some sort of award thing. Do I need to lose a little more weight? Like, I'm so, like, still blown away by this honor.
It was probably the easiest decision we made as an organization. That at our big New York Fashion Week show, we always have honorees. We like to honor brands or companies that are really doing their part to engage in the population of people with disabilities, as well as a person from the population that has really been a trailblazer and an inspiration. And we were so excited to bestow that honor upon you, because we strongly feel that it's personalities and people like you that are really showing that people with disabilities can do everything and anything that they set their minds and hopes and dreams to. And most importantly, that they have the same hopes and dreams and realities, and that everybody has, and pitfalls and failures, and just showing the success that you have accomplished, and everything that you have done will help us communicate, hopefully, to others out there. Yes, very good. Oh, you've been practicing. I love it.
Is that good attitude? Is that good attitude?
I love the attitude. It's perfect. But hopefully you will be showing some young person out there that, you know what, they have so much life ahead of them and so much opportunity because they are seeing somebody that looks like them.
I'm too sexy for my chair. Too sexy for my chair. So
Clearly.
we won't go there. But no, I'm actually, I'm so honored. I looked at the names. I mean, tell everybody out there some of the names that have won this award. That's why I'm just so humbled that you guys have honored me.
Well, actually, one of the things that I loved and I thought about when you mentioned about the football is Kyle Maynard was a recipient of this award, and he has also played football.
Yeah, I know Kyle.
Also is just a tremendous human before anything else, and has reached heights literally through his mountain climbing and what he has accomplished in his speaking and spreading the message is exemplary. And I think you will follow very well after him.
I always think of him as my half brother, so
Yes, perfect. I could see that.
Well, Mindy, I thank you so much for your time today. Again, the event taking place in New York, is it August 9th?
September.
September. Oh, sorry.
Yes.
So many dates in my brain.
I know.
And again, we have to make sure, let's get those people to go to your website and go and check out what you're doing. It's runwayofdreams.org, and go see what Mindy is doing for her and her family. She has 2 sons, a daughter, her husband Greg, and what has life been like as, and I mean, I know this question, but many people don't, what life is like as a parent with someone who has a muscular dystrophy. Like, I've always considered myself one of Jerry's kids because I would go and collect money for muscular dystrophy, but it is a much different affliction than most, and it takes a lot of support.
So I love that you brought up Jerry Lewis, because when we were told that Oliver has muscular dystrophy, that was what I immediately thought of, because that was the extent of my knowledge of muscular dystrophy, was the Jerry Lewis,
Everyday telethon, yeah.
Yeah, exactly, the telethon every year. So I think the easy response is that there's no rule books. There's certainly no rule books on being a parent, and there's definitely no rule books of being a parent of a child with a disability. And I am learning as I go, both my husband and I and all of our siblings, that, some days I do it great, and some days I really mess it up. And, cannot believe that I didn't think about how this was going to affect Oliver. And it is a 24-hour-a-day job, obviously, in just trying to keep his life as normal as we can, and treating him exactly the same way as my other kids. But as it relates to muscular dystrophy as a neuromuscular disease, it is degenerative. So Oliver's muscles will break down over the course of his life. And I think that that is without a doubt the most difficult part of the journey, is that he is losing capacity and there is nothing that we can do about it. And just sit by the sidelines and watch your baby not be able to do things that he used to is extremely challenging. But yeah.
I know you got to go. You got a lot of stuff to do, but yeah, I hope, since Jerry's been gone, I feel like maybe the cause, we've kind of forgotten about it, and I just hope that there's still time out there that we can stop it and trigger it and get it back. With, like, if we can find a virus cure for COVID so quickly, maybe this will open up opportunities for all these other proteins and things that are in these things, and it might help, because science does work, and if we can get behind science, then we'll do it. So Mindy, Scheier, I can't wait to see you in person. So many good things you've got going. Again, for more information, visit runwayofdreams.org. We'll be talking in the future. We'll be meeting. And again, if you're looking to find clothing lines online, I guess on Kohl's and Tommy Hilfiger, there are separate drop downs to find that
stuff. Adaptive. There's options. There's definitely options. I'm so grateful. Thank you so much for having me, and I can't wait to see you in person.
All right, Mindy. Take care. Stay safe, and
we'll
talk to you soon. All right. That was Mindy Scheier. Dave Stevens here at Radio Row. Again, thank you, everybody, for your support. Hey, I can do other things just besides sports, right? My first fashion interview. So that was really fun. So again, thank you to the Disability Channel for your support here, and, getting us into the building and continuing to help us do the things that we're doing for America. And of course, Ability Media, which is, my pride and joy with Quinnipiac, where we are going to change the world. And now, hopefully, working with Mindy and everything, we could put together some amazing things and opportunities out there, and not just for the disabled, but for everybody. So that's really cool. And for you old timers out there, don't forget to watch Ali Plus TV. I'll be hosting Boomer Connection and doing some new things with that. So go to aliplusTV.com. And of course, hey, I need your support. I need your love. I need your clicks. So follow me on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, PlayStation 5, I don't know, anything that's out there. But don't forget, check me out. Continue to follow Dave Stevens Speaks and all the things, the good stuff that we're doing down here with Sam Coonert, Nubability, and all of my friends, BJ Ganem, Sierra Delta, all that stuff. So we got some other interviews coming up later today. So from Radio Row, Tampa Bay, this is Dave Stevens saying, we'll check you later.